Governor Havilla Kavo arrested and charged again. Central villagers protest the killing of a female student. And a student in Leh electrocuted.
This is National MTV News with Tokana Hasavi.
A very good evening to you and welcome to Wednesday's news. Thanks for your company. Convicted Gulf Governor Havilla Kavo was arrested and charged for misappropriation today. The charge relates to the misappropriation of 2.5 million kina of the Gulf Provincial Government dividend from the Mineral Resources Development Corporation, or MRDC. So far, 2 other people, including the governor, are charged for the same offence.
Mr. Kavo was brought in for questioning this morning at the police headquarters and formally charged for misappropriation. It is understood he committed the offence from 3rd to 30th January 2015 while out on bail for his previous conviction for a similar offence. The 2.5 million kina misappropriated was paid by MRDC as dividend to the Gulf Provincial Government. Of that amount, 780,000 kina was cashed within a week to cater for various expenses. Mika Akia and Willie Simoy are 2 others who were earlier charged for the same offence. The entire Provincial Assembly raised complaint on this matter, which led to the arrest and charging of these individuals. The complaint was directed to the then Police Commissioner Jeffrey Vaki and followed through by current Commissioner Gary Baki, who found there was sufficient evidence to proceed with the interview. Kavo has been refused bail and is currently locked up at the Boroko Police Station cell. Mickey Cavera, National MTV News.
People from Central Province are demanding peace and respect from people who migrate into the city from other provinces. Their demand comes after Central people are experiencing an increase in serious crimes, including murder. A small protest was organised by Dogoda people along the Magi Highway demanding peace after a 19-year-old female student was abducted, raped and murdered.
The abduction of the 19-year-old grade 9 student from Yarawari High School in Central Province happened last Sunday at Gaire village along the Magi Highway. She was taken on a 10-seater Land Cruiser vehicle, raped and murdered near the road just off the junction leading into a Dagoda village.
Our protest was purposely for a girl by the name of Gerubu, Mayor Gewa was being raped, and police claiming, 10-seater claiming himself is a policeman, a police vehicle, and these are the people that actually got up and pick rape and kill her.
Enough is enough. Lots of women have been killed on our highways.
A peaceful protest was organized by the Dagoda community today. Central Police are aware of the incident and identities of the suspects are known to the relatives of the deceased. However, the deceased families allowed police to carry out their investigation and for the law to take its course. With this recent incident, people are demanding peace and respect from people who settle in the province.
I heard every Papuans, every Central Province that we're not going to give it up lightly. Anything's happened like that, we're going to protest and we're going to march and we're going to confront those perpetrators.
Because if we don't, then it's tarnishing the name of we Papuans. It's about time people understand our lifestyle and our culture. And if they want to come and stay on our land or do anything on our land, they have to follow the Papuans' way of living.
Cases of abduction, rape and murder has slightly increased this year. However, police says generally criminal activities and petty crimes are slowing down in the city and along the highways. Quinten Alomp, National MTV News.
A man from Morambe Province was thrown in jail for 6 years after being framed by police. 33-year-old Tua Yangut was falsely accused of kidnapping a woman after being asked by a police officer to pay a 1,000 kina bribe, a request to which he refused. He was sent to Bomana prison in 2009 and was released last week after the courts found him not guilty.
In 2009, Tua Yangut was a supervisor with PNG Gardener. After finishing from work, he went home and met someone that would change his life forever.
I'm talking Emily the house run. So me talk shala mo sa ma. Inshallah community no kati mo house run. But as My contractors will establish Boroko, all the islands, all the Chimbu. So there the people only got the mouse went Misawe. So I can help you.
That person who he helped later kidnapped a woman. 2 weeks later, the police came after Tua. He was taken to Boroko police station, thrown in the cell and helpless. He waited for someone to help him. Confused, he was pushed to the Ivy Parade, where the victim of the kidnapping stood to identify her kidnapper.
Bigor on the Boroko, ID parade lomi, straight all police kisim ID parade lomi. There was a woman who said come ID parade lomi. I'm talking him for the time. I supposed to be released. The police told you released. You lucky if it was married talking you.
After the victim said Tua was innocent, he was released from jail. But as he was leaving the station, a police officer approached him and asked for a 1,000 kina bribe as bail money. Tua, having been cleared of any wrongdoing earlier, refused to pay the police officer.
Hey, me released. Me no visit trouble. Why me give 1,000 kina? Na policeman and me swallow me. Nam talk isa go lo bomana isa ka rice lo bomana too. Nam talk no. That's where only police putting me go inside, and then they just leave me there. They dumped me there for 6 years.
Last Thursday, he was released after the courts found him not guilty. It was too late for Tua. For the last 6 years, a lot of bad things happened for him. His family in particular was mostly affected.
Time Mr. Calabus, no getting work. I only me want the breadwinner in the family. So time you go and my family by me and only been go come and marry go married. Beginning yet start a boo so and time now me come back when me must go back to work. Me make sure when me must go back to school by next year.
He is now seeking legal action to sue the people that were responsible for his injustice. He also appealed to other people like him to come out and speak against human rights abuse, especially against police abuse and brutality.
You got in problem, one time rights abuse, you must come out, you must talk clear along MTV so that people must survey along how kind of problem in the country, so that you need long support, long law and order, so that law and order must stop straight. And then, as a Papua New Guinea, you must respect him law. Law too must get to respect long people of Papua New Guinea.
Stanley Oved Jr., National MTV News.
A Lay Polytechnic student was killed in the early hours of this morning after he got electrocuted. This morning, friends and family members of the Bougainvillean student moved his body from the Anga Hospital morgue to a funeral home. It's understood that exposed electrical wires electrocuted the student during this morning's heavy downpour.
These pictures taken earlier today show friends of the Bougainvillean Polytechnic student gathered at the Angao Hospital after bringing his body there. He was electrocuted in the early hours of the morning at the institute's campus. He was rushed to the hospital by a security company vehicle around 1 a.m. straight to the accident and emergency room, but he was pronounced dead. National Polytechnic Institute SRC President Gary Gumembi says the student body are shocked.
At this stage, the student's family doesn't want to speak on camera because they are still dealing with the loss of a family member. The student's body has been taken to a funeral home outside of Lay City, waiting for the mother to arrive tomorrow. The student from Bougainville is in his early 20s. He was a first-year accounting student at the institute.
Information about the student's electrocution is sketchy, but it's understood that the cause of the electrocution was a poorly insulated wire touching a light pole during last night's heavy downpour. Last month on the 26th, a boy at Lay's 4 Mile killed by electrocution after he touched a fence with power flowing through it. A power line had fallen on the fence. Bethany Harriman, National MTV News, Lay.
The Acting Deputy Secretary for Education, Dr. Uke Kombra, says education standards officers are being tasked to personally verify school data to improve the flow and accountability of tuition fee-free or TFF funds. This comes after revelations by the Education Minister, Nick Kuman, that 50 million kina of TFF funds remains unaccounted for. Dr. Kombra says some of the figures supplied by schools are deliberately exaggerated, while some figures reflect the expansion of the schools.
One of the biggest challenges facing the Education Department today is the integrity of information that comes from schools to the Education Head Office in Waigani. Like every other sector in the government of Papua New Guinea, the Education Department can't easily refer to a single source to draw reliable data. Since the introduction of the tuition fee-free education policy, the problem has become more pronounced. Headquarters in Port Moresby has come to realize that it can't trust enrollment figures coming from the districts.
Because the inspectors are accountable to the Secretary for Education, we can hold them accountable. So therefore, that's one system that we can bring in immediately to have some integrity in the data we're collecting.
There are two sides to this story of inaccurate data. The one side that has attracted a lot of public anger is that school boards and administrations are deliberately inflating enrollment figures to get more money. The other side is that schools are expanding and need more. On Monday, Education Minister Nick Kuman told a gathering of senior education officers that 50 million kina remains unaccounted for and the taxpayers' money were being paid to ghost names.
The problem of inaccurate statistics isn't restricted just to the Education Department. Health has various sources for its information: the UN, Australian aid organizations and the PNG government. Even our own census statistics continues to be challenged every time there's an election. Scott White, National MTV News, Leh.
Well, National MTV News continues with more local stories. That's coming up next. Welcome back to the news. The two-day conference at the University of Papua New Guinea, marking 40 years of the country's constitution, ended today. Dean of the School of Law, Professor Mange Matui, says the forum was all about going back to its implementation as well as its effects. Yesterday's forum saw presentations from founding fathers of the constitution, including Grand Chief Sir Michael Somare and Sir John Kaputin.
On the last day of the School of Law conference, Dr. Henry Okole, advisor to the Provincial Affairs Department, spoke about the conflicts between the three levels of government. Dr. Okole talked about the issue of instability itself and what he personally sees as a challenge in the political culture that is now being witnessed in Papua New Guinea.
Today we see the dominance of the executive arm over the legislature. We see also the challenges to the judiciary. And I suppose because it's been with us for some time, I don't know how to word it, but it appears as if there's some element of tolerance to it right now, even though we know that the executive itself is very powerful at this point.
Dr. Okole believes there has to be some changes, as PNG cannot allow the system of government to remain as it is. He said there has to be some checks and balances to be among the three arms of government so that government business is transparent.
They should, I believe, consider some of the studies, recommendations that had been done over the years.
Dean of the School of Law, Professor Mange Matui, said the two-day conference was an ideal platform for the law students at the university to hear from the founding fathers of the Constitution, and the senior officers from the legal fraternity discussed the Constitution in its various dynamics. The conference ended today.
There's a lot of issues that revolve around the Constitution. And I think bringing those people who are responsible for discussing, providing their commentaries on issues relating to the Constitution is very, very important, because then they come to share ideas and discuss about these issues. And in the process of doing so, students are actually learning.
The University of Papua New Guinea will see 2 more days of conferences tomorrow and on Friday to be hosted by the School of Business Administration on the theme of the era of the LNG. Deli Waigeno, National MTV News.
The opposition has commended the successful election of Chief John Momis as the second-time president of the Autonomous Region of Bougainville. In a news conference this afternoon, opposition leader Don Pollier says the opposition is committed to working with the president to help build the island of Bougainville.
The opposition leader this afternoon commended the success of the third general elections in the autonomous region of Bougainville. He applauded the people of Bougainville in successfully electing their leaders through a democratic process. Congratulating Chief Dr. John Momis as the second-time president of the autonomous government, Mr. Paul has said Bougainville remains an important agenda for development in the country.
Let me congratulate the president, Mr. John Momis, for having been elected through the democratic process by the people of Bougainville. I see the elections being conducted on the island under very challenging circumstances have gone very well.
He further congratulated Simon Petanu on his appointment as the new Speaker for the House of Representatives. He said Petanu has an important duty to protect the integrity of the Bougainville government. In the meantime, Paul said the opposition will continue to support the new government of Bougainville to help the island achieve its development goals.
That the opposition will work with the autonomous region, the President Momis, and his government.
Stanley Oved Jr., National MTV News.
Pangu Party leader Sam Basil says candidates will be part of an institution that will have policies to monitor and implement projects. The Wabulolo MP stated that under the Pangu Party banner, leaders would sign a memorandum of understanding to deliver impact projects. Deputy Opposition Leader Sam Basil also says the ward councils will be used for the implementation of impact projects.
Pangu Party wants to gain support from the 9 Morobe districts dominated by the ruling party People's National Congress. Candidates who stand under the Pangu banner will sign an MOU to deliver to the people.
And also we build a capacity of local level government to take ownership of its infrastructures such as road, health, education, law and order, and many others that are on offer, so that the LLG can be a government of its own.
Deputy Opposition Leader Sam Basil says it will be the kind of party to mentor leaders to achieve set goals, an institution based upon agreements to deliver services to the people. They've also started discussions at the University of Papua New Guinea for students to join.
I will have a meeting with them, and the parliamentary wing will have a meeting with the youth wing, and we will gauge the views of the tertiary students on issues affecting the country, and we will bring their views to the floor of parliament through question time, to grievance debates and through petitions.
On Saturday, Pangu Party was in Makam district to reach out to the people and elect executives. The country's oldest party says it's on a move to capture all the 9 districts of Morobe and set the tone for 2017.
Morobe province has 9 seats in parliament. Now Pangu Party is working to at least secure some of these seats. Now the challenge remains. Most of the 8 districts are strongholds of the People's National Congress Party. Bethany Harriman, National MTV News, Leh.
Generating internal revenue can be challenging for provincial governments. However, one government agency is helping out through its services in respective provinces. The Motor Vehicle Insurance Limited today presented Hela Province with 155,000 kina in revenue generated from vehicle registration alone.
Acting Provincial Administrator for Hela Province, William Bando, was present to receive the check of over 155,000 kina from the Motor Vehicle Insurance Limited. The revenue was generated over 2 years since an agreement was signed with MVIL to set up office in Hela Province.
155,000 is something we never expected, and it's exceeded our expectation as well. So we remain committed to the cause of and the businesses of MVIL in the new province, and it only goes to show that despite all the issues of perception, media reporting on what's happening in Hela, I think this is a plus for us, and I want to assure anyone out there that they think Hela is not a place to invest. Well, MVIL has already invested in the place, and apart from the mining and oil companies out there.
Bando says Hela was fortunate enough to have such a service from a state agency to help in generating internal revenue. MVIL CEO Joe Wemin felt MVIL was duty-bound to ensure all provinces benefit from MVIL services to expedite service delivery when necessary.
MVIL is a state-owned enterprise, and we have a role in nation building. And as part of the board's drive with the management was to support the government deliver services to where our people are.
Sales registration of vehicles in Hela has peaked from 4,000 kina in 2013 to 44,000 kina in 2015. In total, MVIL generates total revenue for the Hela provincial coffers to the amount of 155,000 kina from November 2013 to May 2015. So far, MVIL has set up branches in all centers in Papua New Guinea except Manus province, which it plans to establish one by the end of this month. Mickey Cavera, National, MTV News.
Well, now we check out the finance news. The kina closed unchanged at $0.3665 US in the interbank market. At Bank South Pacific, our kina was trading at $0.3590 US, $0.4599 Australian dollars, $0.3153 euro, and 43.87 Japanese yen. Looking at commodity prices at New York close, gold and copper closed the day lower, while cocoa and coffee closed higher. Palm oil and crude oil closed higher, while copper closed the day lower. And finally, on the stock market, the Dow Jones closed at 113 points higher, the ASX closed at 34 points higher, and the All Ordinaries closed at 39 points higher as well. Still to come on National MTV News after the break, finding an effective way to teach children connections between the people of Rigor, Central Province and Sydney, Australia. Stay with us. Thanks for your company and welcome back to the news. A child learns to read only once, and it is important that this process is done right to ensure a high level of literacy later on in life. In PNG, educators are still struggling with finding the most effective way of teaching the majority of PNG children to read and write. A volunteer couple living in rural Gulf Province has been testing a phonics system to preschoolers, and the results speak for themselves.
It is called Uniscript and it uses icons to depict the sounds of letters. Debbie and Robbie Peterson call it iconic phonics, and they say they cannot be happier with the results.
So you see that in 1 year with Uniscript starting and then moving on, the children are much more literate in English than after 3 years of English-only education. So we found that really encouraging and amazing that we were, that this was a good thing for literacy in this country. And
part of how it works is the icons depict how the tongue and lip behave when making the sound, and this helps students know what to do in order to make the sound. The process of creating a Uniscript for a community encourages the use of everyday items that children are familiar with. This ensures that the phonic writing system is unique to that particular traditional culture.
And often in the rural areas, the known language is the child's talk place. And so in those rural areas, it's a great advantage for the child to actually learn to read and write in their own language and then transition to English.
The couple, who are long-time educationists, came across this phonics system when, as part of a team, they attended a workshop on it at the University of the Nations in Hawaii in 2013. It was during a time when they were looking for innovative ways to improve the literacy levels in the communities they were working in. Since then, they have seen preschoolers learn to read and write in their own language and in English after 1 year of Uniscript education and bridging easily from Uniscript to reading letters in the alphabet.
Ara, Dubai, Pa, E, I, Da, O, T.
Sarah Aupong, National MTV News.
The influx of customers into Kwikila Station's main market has signaled the need for a bigger market facility. It comes as more people are travelling into Kwikila from the 2 neighbouring districts, including Port Moresby. To accommodate this, the Rigo Central Local Level Government is now planning to construct a bigger market facility.
Kwikila Station is an hour's drive from Port Moresby and is home to over 5,000 people. Situated between Karukuhiri and Abau districts, the pre-independence station plays a central venue for villages along the Magi Highway as an access point for basic government services.
We are planning to put up a new market.
Freddy Silona is the Rigo Central local level government president. He has been working closely with his LLG offices and local member Nopala to ensure a bigger market is built quickly.
We have a plan to change our market, which you have seen. You have just gone down and seen. The market itself now, it's just overcrowded with lots of people coming in.
Kwikila is one of the first government stations that were established in Central, apart from Berena, Tapini and Kupiano. In recent years, its market has seen an increase in the demand for garden food and vegetables. This has attracted more vendors, resulting in overcrowding, and some vendors are forced to sell their produce on that. Realizing this, the LLG plans to pull down the current market and replace it with a more appropriate building to accommodate more vendors.
With the DDA in place now, we are putting up a plan to do up a good market.
A market building plan was already submitted to the Lands and Physical Planning Department, and the LLG is only awaiting the go-ahead. The proposed market will include a new fence, bigger market stalls, and proper water and electricity facilities. Takla Gunga, National MTV News.
An historic chair presented to the Rigo District Council in 1966 by Sydney's Lane Cove Council is still inside the LLG President's office at Kwikila Station, Central Province. The chair's seat was broken and is collecting dust. However, the chair still reminds Rigo leaders of the long relationship they had with the Sydney Lane Cove Council during the colonial era.
It's a present given to the Rigo District Council in the then Papua Province 39 years ago. Today, this historic chair still maintains its hardness but is collecting dust and the seat broken. On 8 February 1966, two Rigo councillors, Tom Abe, brother of Dirona Abe, a member of the Legislative Assembly, and Enoka Tom, went to Sydney to receive the chair. The event was described as impressive because thousands of Sydney residents who witnessed the occasion could not believe a Papuan could speak fluently in the English language. In return for the chair, residents of Rigo District gave 2 dubu, a traditional chieftain design carved on tree trunks, to Sydney's Lane Cove Council as a reciprocal gesture of goodwill and friendship. History of the event is still on the walls. Calls are now made by Rigo Central LLG President Freddy Silona for the national government to assist them financially to build shelter to house these historic items and to reopen the ghost track used by the Americans during the Second World War. Quintan Alomp, National MTV News.
Turning overseas now to regional news, Indonesia's Mount Sinabung in the North Sumatra province erupted yesterday, sending clouds of ash into the sky. The eruption was the latest round since the government put the volcano on its highest alert earlier this month. Nearly 3,000 people were forced to flee their homes since Saturday to an evacuation center in Brastagi, North Sumatra. Sinabung Observation Center confirmed that hot ash spewed as far as 2.5 kilometers at 7:30 yesterday morning. Mount Sinabung is one of nearly 130 active volcanoes in Indonesia, which stand along the Ring of Fire volcanic belts around the shores of the Pacific Ocean. Well, True Guy Sports is coming up next, and our powerful weightlifters for the Games. Also, PNG Lewis announced and testing out facilities for the Games. Stay with us for that plus more.
True Guy Sports.
Welcome to True Guy Sports. The International Cricket Council East Asia Pacific Office today announced the final women's squads for the 2015 Pacific Games. The teams competing in the tournament are Papua New Guinea, Fiji, Vanuatu, Cook Islands, New Caledonia and Samoa. This is the first time that women's cricket will be staged alongside men's cricket at the Pacific Games.
Participating in the Pacific Games is a real highlight for many Pacific athletes. However, the women's cricket tournament will have even more at stake, with the ICC partnering with the Pacific Games Council to make this event a part of the global qualifying pathway for the 2018 ICC Women's World T20 tournament. The T20 format presents a real opportunity for developing cricket nations to make their mark on the world stage, particularly Pacific nations overflowing with players. The women's competition will also be used as part of the qualifying process for the 2018 Women's World T20, which means the top 2 East Asia Pacific teams will qualify for a tri-series against Japan next year. The first round of matches will be played on Monday, July 6th, with the finals to be held on Saturday, July 11th. All matches will be played at the Bisini Sports Complex and will be live scored, with scores available through the East Asia Pacific website. Elijah Levette, National MTV Sports.
Following last week's successful trial run of the Sir John Guy Stadium, the Games Organising Committee is eager to trial all operational activities again at the Tarama Indoor and Aquatic Complex. The Barocco Swimming Club will have the honour to trial the remarkable Olympic-sized 50-metre pool on Sunday from 9 a.m. onwards. MTV's Lorraine Kenya has this report.
Now, in an interview earlier this week, Chief Executive Officer of the Games Organising Committee, Peter Stewart, gave indications that many of the other venues will be trialled and tested in the weeks leading up to the 2015 Pacific Games.
Things that are going to happen at games time that aren't normal here for in PNG. So we did what we call mag and bag, which is magnetometer searches and bag searches of everybody coming in, just to make sure that they weren't bringing any prohibited items. We had a very, very strong cleaning compound going on during the games period. So there was cleaning being done, not just of toilets and facilities like that, but also of the general area. We had a raft of rubbish bins around for people to use. So we want to keep the venues very clean during the period of the Games.
The test events will be free to the public. The Games Organising Committee will exercise ticketing and security check systems, as well as ensuring the seating capacity of each venue is maintained. While public parking at the Tarama Aquatic Indoor Centre is not allowed, the park and ride service will again be operating from the Murray Barracks field.
The Games through the normal PMV system. We've done a lot of work with the Department of Transport and the PMV operators, and they again will be running until quite late at night to ensure that people can get home from venues that finish perhaps at 9 o'clock at night.
This weekend's test of the Tarama Aquatic and Indoor Centre will not just see swimming take place, but also basketball and volleyball. Now, as Mr. Stewart said, this is to test the ticketing processing, as well as the crowd handling, and of course the security operations. Lorraine Genia, National MTV Sports.
The All Search Pacific Games baton relay is now in the autonomous region of Bougainville. Bougainvillians are accorded a rousing welcome, traditional welcome that is, to the baton. The baton arrived at the time when Bougainvillians celebrates its 10th anniversary of autonomy with the swearing in of new members of the Bougainville House of Representatives.
From East New Britain Province, the All Search Pacific Games relay baton arrived to a rousing traditional welcome at Buka Airport, 1:35 p.m. Bougainville Standard Time. Bougainville's All Search Ambassador Francis Cabano delivered the baton to Regional MP Joe Lera, who then passed it on to ABG Titalato constituency member Fidelis Semoso. A traditional ritual washing of the feet, tutu, was accorded to the baton, signifying its arrival and welcome into the land of the rising sun, autonomous region of Bougainville. It was then taken to the Bougainville House of Representatives before heading to Malasang Primary School and relaying back into town from there. The baton relay's arrival marks the entry into the 28th location, with 2 more to go to complete its 100-day journey before it enters Pacific Games Arena. Tomorrow the baton travels to Arawa and Panguna and the rest of the autonomous region before heading to Central Province on Saturday. Fabian Hakelitz, National MTV Sports.
Well, Trukai Sports continues with a preview of State of Origin Game 2. Stay tuned for that.
Trukai Sports.
Good to have you back with Trukai Sports. The strongest weightlifting team ever fielded in Pacific Games history will be on show in Papua New Guinea next month. The Pacific Games event in Port Moresby is being held in conjunction with the Oceania Weightlifting Championships for the very first time.
Among the lifters on show will be Glasgow Commonwealth Games medalist Dika Tua and Stephen Curry from Papua New Guinea and David Katoa Tau from Kiribati.
Samoa, Fiji and Nauru will also have Commonwealth Games medalists on show, as well as New Zealand and Australia, who will be competing at the Pacific Games for the first time.
The General Secretary of Oceania and Commonwealth Weightlifting Federations, Paul Kofa, says that helped to boost the entry numbers. Papua New Guinea will host 21 countries with about 260 lifters competing. Kofa said that's quite a large number and the biggest entries ever had in this sport in the Pacific, and the fact that it is a real qualification event. American Samoa, the Cook Islands, Fiji, Kiribati, Guam, the Marshall Islands, the Federate States of Micronesia, Nauru, New Caledonia, Niue, Norfolk Islands, Samoa, Palau, the Solomon Islands, Tahiti, Tonga, Tuvalu, Tokelau, and Wallis and Futuna are the other competing countries aside from CNMI and host Papua New Guinea. The 32-number delegation include 25 athletes will be Northern Marianas medal hopes to next month's 15 Pacific Games in Papua New Guinea. Australia will send 14 lifters for the Games. The CNMI will be competing in 8 of the 28 sports offered in the Pacific Games, namely athletics, beach volleyball, bodybuilding, golf, sailing, swimming, triathlon, and va'a or outrigger canoeing. Shane Saroya, National MTV Sports.
To Rugby League, the Queensland Maroons came out victorious, edging out the New South Wales Blues by 1 point in Game 1 of the State of Origin 2015. The Blues will be looking to level the series as they play Game 2 in neutral territory over in Victoria at the iconic Melbourne Cricket Ground.
Kick one at Origin level.
Game 1 went down to the wire, which saw the more experienced Maroons hang on by 1 point to open the State of Origin 2015 with a win.
There goes the shot from Cooper. He turns his back, he knows it's there.
Game 2 will be a must-win for the Blues to keep the series hopes alive. The Queenslanders will be without the experience of polished half-back Cooper Cronk, but he will be replaced by the more than capable Daly Cherry Evans. The Blues will have skipper Paul Garland back in the team after missing Game 1, and the halves pairing of Pearce and Hodgkinson have been under fire since Game 1 and will be looking to make amends in Game 2 of Origin. The State of Origin has a huge following in Papua New Guinea, with fans giving their tip to who they think will win Game 2 of Origin.
Oh, I support Maroons, yeah. I support Maroons. Number 9, the captain himself, Cameron Smith, will score the first try for Maroons. I'm all the way Maroon supporter.
Lead them talk finish. Now night them Paul Gallen by Gonzalo film. Blue spike is it. Blue talk. Lead them. I'm supporter of Maroons. Meeting was a more by win 2 or 3 points difference.
Okay, this is John.
Timothy.
Nathan. Go Blues!
Mi dayat le blues traja mi se dayat trad le blues mi se bet trad na blues win mi se mas na time lose to mi se cry wante na mi se sabote.
The Maroons will go into the match as favourites, but the Blues are more than capable of pulling off a surprise to level the series, which will see a head-to-head clash for Game 3 to be played in Queensland on the 8th of July. Dion Kombang, National MTV Sports.
Well, that wraps up Trukai Sports tonight. I'll be back with the weather details on the other side of this break. Stay with us.
Trukai Sports. Trukai Sports.
Taking a quick look at the weather forecast for the next 24 hours in southern region, cloudy periods expected in Daru, Port Moresby and Kerema. In Momase, all centres to look forward to showers except Lae, brief evening showers. In the New Guinea Islands, mostly fine and sunny expected in Lorengau. And lastly, in the Islands region, all centres showers, then morning fog. Well, that's been the news, sports and weather tonight. On behalf of the entire news crew, I'm Tokana Hasavi. You can enjoy the State of Origin Game 2 right here on the official broadcaster of the 2015 Pacific Games, MTV. Go the Queensland Maroons. Good night.